Hey guys, welcome back to the channel Best Ways for Long-Term Stock Investors. Today we are going to talk about Pestech, right? What it does, what is some of our takeaways, and some of the investment merits. As a disclaimer, we do not own any shares in Pestech and Serbadk as well. And as usual, now what we say should be financial advice. If you want that sort of advice, please speak to a professional. Hey guys, before we begin, just to let you know, we have a totally free masterclass just for you to sign up for in the comment section or the description, where we will guide you on how you can build a 6 to 7 figure portfolio using the power of stock investing. Go check it out. Alright, so as you can clearly see, Pestech not doing very well over the past 5 years, down 80%, and a big chunk of the decline actually happened right after 2000 and at the end of 2021.
Yeah.
Right, and in 2022 it's just an absolute downward spiral, right?
Right.
Now, it has actually done better, right? If you compare it to IPO, at least.
Yep.
Right. Today, the market cap is 288 million versus 86 million when it first got there. But yeah, guide us through a little bit about the history of Pestech.
Okay, so Pestech is actually founded 30 years ago. So it's founded in 1991. And right now they actually have 3 factories. This is a company that actually have a lot of business exposure in all around Asian countries and even African countries. But they don't really set up factory over there. It's more of like a JV with the countries, with the companies over there, the foreign companies.
Okay.
So, but their main existing factories where they actually store those, their inventories and whatnot, is actually all locally in Selangor and also in Sarawak. Yeah, so that is basically a quick fact. And also I just touched on the business exposure, which is
Africa, interesting.
Yeah, exactly. And this is another fun fact. So the management actually does disclose their salaries and remuneration. This is, I believe, in their latest AR in financial year 2021. So you can see how much is Mr. Lim Ahok making, how much is Mr. Paul is making. Yeah, it's all there. And another thing is that this is a company that has always been engaging with a lot of those public, like those social media influencers. And yeah, they have been doing a lot of marketing on social media. So that is a quick fun fact about Pestech.
Okay.
And then now we look at their business. So they actually have 2 type of business divisions. So one is the product one. The product base is basically they manufacture these power system components. So there's a lot of these various panels, RTU, which is your remote terminal unit, substation, all those technical terms. If you want to know what is it, do read up in their prospectus, because they do explain it in detail over there. And last but not least is their service, which I believe is the one that is contributing heavily in their revenue. So it is the EPCC for power substation. So if you don't know what is power substation, basically the picture over here is the power substation. And then they do also transmission line and rail electrification.
Right. So let's get a sense. Right. So you actually had the breakdown here.
Yes, exactly. So the sales of product, right, you can see that initially they are making a lot, but then they start to drop, because they focus more on services, which is their EPCC services. And then the concessions revenue is basically part of their EPCC.
Right.
Yeah, but they just separate it. Yep.
Okay, so this is a very interesting diagram. On the prospectus, right? They do give you how do they acquire the customers, and then how do they process the services, things like that. And what I find interesting is that you were mentioning before we started this that the suppliers and the customers are on the same thing.
And the major customers are kind of basically their suppliers is their customers.
Right.
Yeah, put it that way. Yeah. So this is actually just a very simple process flow that Pestech actually showed to us in their prospectus. How they basically acquire customer and what is the process like, and then how do they function for each services and product that they offer.
Right.
But the main thing that I want to highlight is this is in their IPO report, they did mention that from the design phase up to the end, which is the commissioning and handover to the key to their customers phase, it roughly takes about 6 months to maybe even as long as a few years. But in their financial year end in 2012, they actually extended the period.
Right.
So this means that maybe the project that they are handling are much more complex. And it's not as simple as it was before that lah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, typically, even just planning for holiday budget, you can already pecah, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let alone a power plant and EPCC, right?
Yeah.
So so they do let you know, right, who their clients are.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, the local one, they are in a power station. I'll just call it as a powerhouse. Yeah. So powerhouse, is TNB, and then the likes of Zaha Sedia Bahar, your Sabah Electricity Sedia Bahar, all those major electricity provider.
And the foreign one, you got Siemens, you've got Brunei's Department of Electrical Services, interesting.
Exactly.
Cambodia. So from this alone, I can already tell that a lot of relationship is very important, right?
Exactly.
Building with other countries, right? Politics and all that.
Yes.
So something you guys want to take note of, right?
Yeah.
When you look at Pestech. Alright guys, if you didn't know, we have a one-on-one mentorship program where you can apply for, where we level up your stock investing based on tailor-made solutions. If you're interested, you need to apply. Not all of you all will get into an interview. It's only 20% of you all will do it, and even fewer will get to hop on the program. But if you're confident that you can qualify, you can click on the link and fill in your details in the comment section or the description. Okay, let's look at the numbers. So I can see right here, just on this alone, really good chart by the way. A lot of the money goes into gross profits. And so what this means is that so typically in the P&L, the higher up the cost is, the more control they have, by and large.
Yes.
So a lot of the gross profits will be I presume, the materials that they get to build.
Yes.
And also the contract workers that they hire to build, right? They can't hire all that. And so after the gross profits, then you look at the profit before tax. It's actually really, really minuscule. And that tells me that actually the staff costs, those permanent staff costs are really, really negligible.
And this actually tells us that they don't really have any economies of scale. Because if you notice, right, their revenue, although revenue is growing, but their gross profit has been very stagnant. Yeah. So they don't really have any costs towards their materials and everything.
Yeah. And it kind of makes sense. Again, this is just a theory, but what kind of companies or countries, right, will allow you to have, or rather what kind of projects will allow you to have higher sales? Well, typically are the big companies and the big countries, right? But guess what? Typically, they also have more bargaining power. And so they want to push your cost down. And so you keep pushing. That's exactly what you see in the gross profit.
Yep, exactly.
Right. So sales by geography, Cambodia is a big part, right,
yes.
of Malaysia.
Exactly.
Of their sales, right?
Yep. So I think this is nothing much to tell about.
Exactly.
Just Malaysia is
fun
the most
for you guys to see.
Yeah.
A lot of that, right? So this is another big feature of the company.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, right? They're taking a lot more debt. Yes, the revenue is increasing, but the gross profit is not really increasing.
Yeah, that's actually something that I've been really very concerned. Initially, they took a lot of short-term debt, but then after that, I believe in financial year 2018 and beyond, they start to have a balance between long-term and short-term. But still with that, it's still quite a lot.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Raising a lot of funds through...
So they did a lot of fundraising in private placement, and also they did Sukuk as well.
Yeah,
so,
that's key.
Yeah.
Okay, again, important for you guys to know. Whoa, this is probably like the...
Yeah, actually, this is actually pretty similar to Serbadk Dynamics cash flow. I mean, they are... Although on paper it shows that they are making profit, but cash flow wise, they are not really receiving any much cash.
It has that element about it. Well, what's interesting is that the 2019 operating cash flow is like close to their current market cap.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right?
Yep.
Dividends, obviously, you're not making a lot of money. You can't really pay them that much dividends, right? No need, not much to explain.
Not much to explain also.
So this is probably a chart that summarizes all of your points, right?
Yes.
Taking a lot of debt, spending a lot of money, costs going up, but revenue only increasing a bit, but profits not really moving. And you can see the returns on invested capital is just
dropping, a lot.
Pain. If you're enjoying the video so far, remember to like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so that whenever new videos pop, you know it fresh. Okay, so let's look at the takeaway and of course, talk a little bit about how, or does it even compare up to Serbadk Dynamic.
Right.
So I think what is similar with Serbadk Dynamic is the fact that it's project driven, or what in our SIB course we call a transactional kind of business, right? It's the phrase is wham bam, thank you ma'am, right?
Yeah.
that's the way it does it. You know, sorry if you don't like what I just said. You know, sorry. So it's contractual basis, and then now this is probably the thing that's a little bit different from Serbadk Dynamic. A lot of Serbadk Dynamics EPCC contracts were coming from the Middle East, but this one is Asian and African countries, right?
Yes. So the growth is actually very much dependent on how well the not only political stability of these countries, right, and also whether they can actually grow. I mean, the country as a whole, because if they cannot grow, for example, like they do have business exposure in Sri Lanka. So if some of the countries that is facing similar problems like Sri Lanka, I think that would be quite a challenging growth for Pestech lah.
One thing I would add is that somehow Malaysia has pretty bad luck when dealing in business with like the Middle East, right? But we have more luck in Asian and African countries, right? Asian, no need to say lah, right? No, for sure we have success, but you know, African countries, you have people like Yinsen doing very well in Nigeria and all that. So I wouldn't rule out, right, us doing okay in Africa, but certainly Asia we are okay. And you know, Serbadk Dynamic wasn't quite that. So that's one key difference.
And another one is basically they rely heavily on major customer, and their major customer is somewhat related to the government, somewhat. So basically, if let's say the major customer decided to pull out, that's like 60% of their revenue is going to be gone.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So reliance on major customers, a lot of cash flow issues, very similar to Serbadk Dynamic, right? Raising a lot of funds for very little cash flow, or at least the receipt is very difficult.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
To receive it is very difficult.
And hence they have to like issue a lot of debt, a lot of sukuk, a lot of like private placement just to finance their working cap.
So what, like you've watched a few of their
videos. So actually I found out that even though they actually do not make much of cash flow, I mean, some of the analysts also pointed this out, but they look very confident and optimistic. They say that because this type of business, it doesn't, I mean, like electricity, the demand for electricity will just maintain, will sustain.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a necessity. So I think that's why the management is so confident that even though they're not making any cash flow, positive cash flow, right, they're still like, they say it's okay.
Yeah.
We're in a business that is growing. So
And I think one big difference is that with Serbadk Dynamic is that there's a lack of transparency with Serbadk Dynamic. But with guys here at Pestech, you know their clients, and they've executed contracts before. And it's very different because Serbadk Dynamic was going from maintenance contracts into EPCC. But for Pestech, they've been EPCC in their blood for a long time already, right? Of course, it's still difficult, right? Just because you've been doing it a long time doesn't mean that it's not difficult. But I guess it will be, I think, unfair to compare them with Serbadk Dynamic like for like, right? Not, just because they are, I don't know, a shark and a bluebird are both blue, right? Doesn't mean that they're the same thing in that sense. I don't know.
It's basically the transparency lah. One is run transparent, the other one is not. Okay, and then the last bit that I actually didn't really quite like about this is that the previous AR, they actually boast a lot about their market cap.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because there's a point that their market cap, I believe, it grew up to like 3 times or 4 times.
Yeah.
Then they're like so confident. They just put up, they even show you like big market cap achieve 400%. But then now they don't really talk much about market cap. So that's something to note about it. I think that's about it.
Alright guys, so if you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, usual stuff. Watch our other videos. Follow us on our social media channels, and we'll see you in the next video.